Welcome to Nightmares Before Bed, a supernatural podcast where each show will explore dark and mysterious places, eerie creatures, and all things spooky and creepy. And speaking of spooky and creepy, please help me welcome your hosts Jonathan Rosen and Troy Cannon.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Nightmares Before Bed. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon, and today we are going to talk about the iconic Stanley Hotel, which we found out that you don't live that far from, right?
No, not really. When I was in Florida, I used to take trips to Jacksonville, which was 3 hours away. The Stanley is only 2.5 hours. So I'm used to a day drive like that. I could go from my house, send the kids to school, jump in the truck and drive there. And I can spend about an hour or 2 hours there and then head back. So I'm planning on going.
Say what it is first. I mean, for those who don't know, I'm sure most do, but for those who don't know, this is the iconic hotel that they based the Overlook Hotel from Stephen King's The Shining on. And supposedly it's where Stephen King did get the inspiration to write The Shining, for him having stayed there in, the famous room 217 there, 237 in the Shining. But it's also supposedly one of the most haunted places in the world. And definitely, of course, in this country, but also in the world. So there's been so many. The other night when we talked about this, I was watching videos on it, and it's creepy. It's really
It
creepy.
is.
So
It is.
if you do go, I'm going to have to hear your experiences. But let's look at some of the things. All right, let's give some of the background details. It was done by an investor, built by an investor, Freeland Oscar Stanley. He visited the area. He was sickly, but he felt the area cured him, and he decided to keep coming back. But he liked the East Coast style of hotels, so he had one built out in Colorado. Do you remember the section that's in? What the section in Colorado?
I don't. I'm in Colorado Springs, and it's about an hour and some change to Denver. So it's like twice the distance from Denver. I can't remember exactly where it's at. I MapQuested it just so I could find the distance. I wanted to know if it was someplace I could do in a day. And but yeah, it's about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Well, it's behind me there if you see, but it's built in 1909, has 140 rooms. Here's the story. By the 70s, all in disrepair, hard times, until Stephen King stayed there, had this, nightmare, and from that it started gaining in popularity again. So there's a whole bunch of different ghost things there, and I'll say one of the things there. One of the main ones at room 217 is the maid, Elizabeth Wilson. He was involved in an accident. There was an explosion, and even though she did not die in the explosion, but she fell through the floor beneath, and she's supposedly one of the ghosts haunting them. But she's kind of more a friendlier ghost. They're not friendly ghosts also, but she's kind of a friendlier ghost that she goes in and she, something gets messy, she'll rearrange it because she was one of the maids there. And also this legend goes that she's of a certain time, she's very disapproving of unmarried couples staying together. And she'll give them a nudge, to get, stop doing what they're doing in the bedroom or whatever. So what did you find out? I mean, there's a lot of different things there. What are some of the things that you found out with this?
There are several different types of ghosts.
Right.
This particular building seems to be haunted with apparitions and poltergeists. Those
Right.
seem to be the two types. The apparitions, they show up, you see them, they're like spooky, and then they disappear, or maybe you see them walk through a wall. The poltergeists are actually moving things around, and one of them is a young lady named Lucy.
I read
She
about
becomes a poltergeist because she's kind of hiding out in the hotel, and she's staying there, and the staff finds her, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And they kick her out. She she unalives. She becomes unalived out in the snow.
Right.
She dies in the snow, and her ghost still wants to hang out, apparently, in the hotel. So she's haunting the hotel as a poltergeist because she moves things around. There was a insider edition.
Okay.
Inside Edition went there and they checked the place out, and one of the reporters is actually trying to talk to her, trying to conjure her. Never conjure ghosts, but she's trying to conjure
I
the
agree with
ghost.
you on that. Yes.
Yeah, what do you want to do
Leave them
that for?
be. Just leave them be. Right.
There's certain things you don't want in your house: roaches, rats, vermin, broke relatives. You don't want broke relatives in your house, and especially not ghosts. You don't want ghosts hanging out in your house. But they're calling them. They're calling her, and while they're trying to get her, the door right on camera, the door starts to close. What gives that validity for me is it was Inside Edition. It was a news reporting team. They weren't trying. It wasn't Halloween. They were just out there trying to check stuff out, and a door closed in front of them. So I'm like, yeah. I'm spending
right. It wasn't one of those YouTube influencers, playing things up just to get, clicks.
That's right.
It was a real thing. I saw that. I saw that clip as well. Here's some funny things though too. So I do the other little plug there, the Pop Culture Retro podcast. We interviewed Bennett Yellen, who wrote the screenplay for Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber was filmed at this hotel, a part of it anyway. Okay, so here's the legend, and I asked him if this was true. So the story goes that Jim Carrey, while filming it, stayed in that room 217. He asked to stay there because it's, the famous one from, The Shining and everything. In the middle of the night, and this is what I had read, and I asked if it was true, in the middle of the night, he left the room and didn't want to go back. He left the room, left the hotel. Something freaked him out. He did not want to talk about it. Supposedly, he's still not talking about it. I asked him if that story was true, and he said that was true. Jim Carrey left that room. We're there too. So that, I don't know if it was all done on purpose for publicity. Who knows? But I found it very interesting, and about the legend of this hotel. You mentioned Lucy. There's a young boy running around. Supposedly Stanley himself still haunts the billiard room and bar. Stanley's wife haunts the music room. And here's the thing: the fourth floor, supposedly the most haunted on it. I don't know if you read all that. There are a lot of different ghosts on the fourth floor in different rooms. We can go into them in a minute, but besides the fourth floor, the staircase itself, called the Vortex, where people have taken pictures and then developed the pictures, and there were things that weren't in the pictures when they took them. People just in the other areas. So you saw those clips?
I did. I saw that with the vortex at the stairwell. On your way up the stairwell, you take some steps. There's a flat area, and you take more steps. That area, the top of the first flight, there's supposed to be the vortex, and several people have taken pictures. Even some of the staff has taken pictures in like the dining room or someplace, and they've caught things that they didn't see with their naked eye. I used to watch a show called Supernatural. Yeah. And on that show, they touch along a lot of stuff they call lore. And it's things that Crispy has looked up, the director. Mm-hmm. He looked them up and he found certain things, and he's like, oh, stick that in there. And this is a thing that you can take, ghost photography. You can take a picture, there's nothing there. But when you develop the film, it shows up. There's a residue of past life floating around behind you or whatever. I read about that, and they're taking pictures all over, and sometimes you don't get nothing. Sometimes you do. And that's the thing for me.
Portal to other places. I don't know if in the hotel or other dimensions or whatever it is, that all these, because the people that are in the photos look, are dressed from other eras. Well,
yeah.
and they've taken pictures, from the outside on certain wings of the hotel. You saw about people in the windows that hotel section is closed off. That there shouldn't be anyone there at all. So yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know what? There's in the research that I've done, there's three different areas that I think are more haunted than the others. The fourth floor, of course. Fourth floor's got everything happening. And then you've got the stairwell with the vortex. But then you've got the infamous room 217.
Right.
And that's what kicks, everything into the modern era with Stephen King. And that's good. But for me personally, the thing out of all of the stuff that's in there, the thing that would definitely run me out of that building is if I was asleep and I rolled over and there was some cowboy trying to give me a kiss, the kissing cowboy. That would freak me out.
Well, suppose he wouldn't be kissing you because he only goes for women that I've read. I don't know.
I hope so. So whenever you go, you got to bring a woman with you. So he's directing his attention somewhere
you could
else.
sacrifice her and you could escape.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be, hey, I'm going to be in the car. Don't worry. He just wants a kiss. You'll be all right.
Well, there are a couple. Besides the cowboy, there's another one too. I was reading that there are like some creepy perverted ghosts in this one. There was the cowboy, which was the other one here. I'm trying to find the name here. That's right here. Lord in room 401, Lord Dunraven. It said lived in the area 20 years before the hotel was built. Female guests feel their hair touched or arm around the waist or shoulder, hand moving up the backs of their legs. So there's no one there. And then there's the creepy cowboy in the other room, which is what room is he in? Which is 428. 428 is it says Rocky Mountain Jim Nugent trying to kiss women. So there are a lot of perverted ghosts at the Stanley too.
I guess when you die, you lose your life and your inhibitions. You're like, you know what? I didn't get to kiss women when I was around. I'm dead. I'm kissing everybody I get my hands on.
Well, just because they're dead doesn't mean that they still don't like affection. But here's one of the other things. I mean, besides the little kid, that to me is always the creepiest. Little kids are creepy. When you see the ghost of little kids laughing or running in the hallways, that is far creepier to me than anything else almost. And you see it there. You see dead, like a pet cemetery thing. There are dogs and cats, ghost dogs and cats running around here too. They said in the ice house is Billy, a small kid who's shown up in photos. And you mentioned Lucy. Now the hedge maze wasn't there originally. They put that in only like recently to tie into the movie a little bit.
Yeah, for the movie.
I love hedge mazes. I do. And over there, I have to be like a little bit concerned.
I would do it, but I would have to have two things. I'd need a string tied onto me where the entrance is, and I'd need to have a pole that had like a balloon or something on it. So just in case I can't get out, somebody can find me. Look for that balloon, man. I'm holding the stick with a balloon on it. Come find me. Because I would like to do it, but there is no way if I get stuck in that hedge that I'm not just going to start climbing through or overhead. If I feel a whiff of something wrong, I'm freaking out and I'm getting out of there.
I think I might be in the fetal position crying. But it's not cheap there. I mean, I don't know if you look at the prices. It's $300, $400, $500 a night, depending on the time of season. So it is not a cheap hotel to go to. It's a ghost tour. Right, and the ghost tour I would definitely do. Whenever I go anywhere that has these things, I do ghost. I did one in London. I did it in Scotland. Ghost tours, which were fascinating. I did the Jack the Ripper tour also in London, but ghost tours are so much fun. I did it down here in St. Augustine. We did a ghost tour many years ago, and that was really cool too. But what else? They said Mrs. Stanley playing in the concert hall here too. a cat with green eyes running around, kids getting mysterious messages. Now, have you ever stayed? We talked about this a little bit in our first video. Have you ever stayed in a haunted hotel, like on purpose?
On purpose? No,
No.
no. Since I was little, I have been my family members, my mom and a couple of my uncles and aunt explained to me that I had an uncle that was born with supposedly born with veils on his face. I guess that's a thing. He's born, and they say that he's touched by the supernatural. When he passed, right about the time when I was born, they said that it passed to me because I have for my entire life, I've seen things, I hear things. Our first video,
you mentioned that to me too, right?
Footsteps.
Right.
Yeah, I always hear that. I heard the footsteps because, like, from where I'm at, this wall goes about past this thing goes about a yard and a half to the wall. That's where I can hear on the other side of that wall is the staircase. So about a yard and a half away from these pictures is the staircase. And while we were talking, I could hear, do, 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 like not even like sneaky, like I'm do, 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 do. Like, oh no, I gotta hurry up and get to the bathroom. That kind of walk. And I heard it and I stopped. And I was like, oh, but that kind of thing I've heard all my life. So intentionally going to where more of this stuff would be, seems like it would intensify
if you're
the
there,
stuff that I feel around me. Yeah.
Right.
So I would like to do it to get a bigger feel of what's going on, but I'm nervous because most of the horror movies I've seen in my life, a lot of them, people have been looking for Bigfoot and then they find him. People have been trying to see if there's a vampire in that castle and then they find him. The Unnameable, one of my favorite horror movies, is called The Unnameable. These college kids wanted to see if there was really a monster in that old Duncan house. And they go there and they check it out. Yeah, there was a monster in there. So I'm thinking if I go to one of these really horrible places just to see if I can really feel what's going on, I might get it. So, I might find what I'm looking for.
Well, have you ever had, you said footsteps, you hear footsteps, have you ever seen anything like a supernatural thing?
Oh yeah, 2 days ago. I see stuff all the time. I see, like, I could be talking to you right now, looking here, and with my peripherals, I can see real quick, see a face go by my door, and I look up and it's gone. And I'll walk out into the hallway and just catch, with my peripherals, someone turning the corner down the stairs. I see just in this one house, I've seen that. Segue real quick, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
When I had a girlfriend I was dating, we were staying together, we're asleep. She taps me and said, hey, your daughter just went into the bathroom. You need to check on her. She's been in there for 5 minutes. And half sleep, how you half sleep, half wake. I heard the door open also. And I saw out the corner, sleepy, kind of looking up. I saw what I thought was my daughter walk into the bathroom. But it's the master bathroom. There's 2 other bathrooms she passes before she gets into the bedroom. But for some reason, she walked down the hallway, went to the bedroom, and went into my bathroom. And the girl I was dating tapped me to say, hey, she's still in there, man. So I got up, I'm yawning. I go to the bathroom, and the light is on. The light was off before. The light's on. I look in the bathroom, there's nobody there. So I was like, hey, there's nobody in the bathroom. She's like, oh, she probably went into the room. And she was aware of the door opening and the presence moving and the light turning on. She was aware of it also. So I go down the hallway and I wake my daughter up to ask her if she's okay. And she's like, yeah, what's the matter? I was like, well, you left the light on in the bathroom. And she's like, I haven't been up. And I was like, whoa. But that is just one of a dozen. I'm married now. My wife, I told her this kind of stuff, and she's real Southern. We met in the South. But we're from upstate, we're from Jersey, New York.
Right.
But she is full on yeehaw country. And she says, you can't talk about that stuff to me. You can't bring it in the house. And I was like, but it's here, babe. It's here. So we're talking about it. And when we lived in Hawaii, I was in the living room. She was coming out of the bedroom, walking towards the living room, and she screamed and ran back into the bedroom. So I got up, you know, rugged prototype of manhood. I'm going to run into the hallway. I don't know what's in there, but I'm going to check it out. And I'm running into the hallway, and she said, "Someone's in the hallway." And I just stopped there. I was like, I told you. I told you. It's not the house. It's me. Things follow me no matter where I go, even across the seas. It's here. And she had an experience maybe 4 times that
But
she
you have
told
an
me about.
empathy toward spirits.
She does now and I think it's because whatever is, I imagine, following me, attached to me, however it works, it affects people around me. Like, say, if I slept at my buddy's house and he had a clown that was in the room and I thought it moved.
We did talk. I'll have to bring this up. We did talk about this on a previous thing that you and I did, but I'll bring it up another day. But yes, I had a creepy clown that did. So, I've had
So,
my experience, but I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
so I was just going to say, I think that the stuff that's happening in that building, I think more of it is authentic than made up. I think there's more things that are actually happening than are things that are people, in people's imagination, or people are just making up for clicks or whatever. I think that there's something there because of my experience.
Well, I'll say this quickly. My experience, and we'll go talk about that, because my experience, the same thing. I've had one that really stands out to me in my life, and I'll swear on whatever Bible or whatever that this happened. Okay, like the day, might have been that same night, the day after, it might have been the same night. That part I don't remember. That my grandmother died. Lying in bed at night, and I turn, and I sense something. I turn, and there she is, like at the foot of my bed, like there, and she she looked for a brief second. She looked like she did at the end, sickly and old, and ready to go. And then she got closer, and she was like how I remembered her as a kid, much more alive. And she smiled at me, I guess letting me know everything was okay, and went to touch me, and then that was it. Disappeared. And I was freaked out, but not. It's hard to explain, because I was like, oh my gosh, did I just see that? And like I said, I'll swear on anything that this happened to me. And I'm not making this up. I'm not dreaming. This was, I was very cognizant, remember the experience well. But then she was gone. I never saw her again after that. But it was like letting you know that she was okay, that not to worry about her at that moment. That that she's passed and she's going on to a better place. So, with that being said, you talked about the Stanley, that they are people who work there. They have all these interviews with people who work there that say that they experience these things. You can watch them. You can find them in so many videos on YouTube, or read about this. And I would love to have one on one day they say that they've experienced things. They've heard voices. They felt like something brushed by them, in corridors in the hotel.
Yeah.
And there are some that that are friendlier, and some get out of here.
Yeah.
So leave me be. So would you go? You said you would would you go stay overnight at a hotel?
I don't think I'd stay overnight. I would go. I want to go, and I want to see if they'll allow me, without renting a room, if I can walk the hallways, and maybe I heard that there's certain areas where you cannot videotape.
Okay.
So I would see if they would allow me to go wherever you can videotape, maybe walk the yards and whatever. I'd have a couple of hours to do it and see what I can see. But I don't think that I would stay the night there. For one, it's crazy expensive. And for two,
that's my main thing.
that's my main thing.
Right.
And for two, I think that I would unfortunately bring something back. I think that in my youth, I had certain attachments, and as I moved to different places, different things attached to me. And I think that going someplace like that, if I went there Monday, I think Tuesday they would say, "Hey, where's all of the ghosts?" And they'd be in my house. That's a Ghostbusters paradise.
We'd have the Troy Cannon tourist attraction, then everyone would come to you. So.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that freaking cowboy kissing my wife.
I think, and I told you this last video that I've purposely gone to places, hotels that are haunted. I've purposely gone there to stay there. But here's the caveat again. I always look what kind of ghost it is. If I read that the ghost is like friendly, won't bother you, is benevolent, I don't mind that. I don't mind. Like, I want to see. I remember going to a hotel in Scotland that said there was like a ghost chain maid that goes out in the yard in the middle of the night to feed the chickens. Goes out every night. So I kept getting up in the middle of the night to go out look in the courtyard. I didn't see anything. I was so disappointed that I didn't see anything. But I think I would stay there. However, there are other ghosts there that, so for that reason, but then I wouldn't, because there are other ghosts there that say are malevolent. And like you, why am I going to tempt a malevolent ghost? I don't want to see a malevolent ghost. I don't want to see something. It's like that old Eddie Murphy routine. It's like, if someone said, the ghost says, get out, I'm gone. I'm
Yeah.
gone. I'm not, like, okay, you win. I'm not going to defy you. You're the boss here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say like who's stronger willed. You're the stronger will. I'm out. Yes. So,
I tell you, something I did recently, and by recently I mean yesterday. I have well, after the military, after the jewelry thing, predominantly what I've been doing is different jobs that involve cameras.
right.
So I have a series of action cameras. This particular action camera I can set to do shots every 3 seconds, take a picture every 3 seconds, right? So what I did was I purchased a battery. I just got it yesterday. In fact, I was still looking through the box, learning how to use all of this stuff. I just got this extended battery so I can plug this in here, because my plan, and I hear stuff right now, I hear doors opening. My plan, and probably because I'm talking about this, is to set that camera up downstairs, in the garage, in the kitchen, different places through the course of a couple of weeks. I'm going to set it up in different places, and I'm going to let it run with the battery. It'll go and it'll take pictures for about 14 hours. So I'm going to set it up right before I go to bed, different places. And my mother has asked me, why don't you just take pictures of she said, take a video of your house. Because I was always, a little nervous about what I might see on
Right.
video. But I've come to a point where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm getting a little bit more curious than I am cautious. So, because in my mind, if they know, then there's no need to hide anymore. So
Right.
I didn't want to do it, but I've been thinking about it. Now I'm going to take this puppy and I can make it, make it as tall as me, and I'm going to set it up. And I wish maybe I can record the sounds I hear and send them to you, because I'm hearing it again. But I'm going to set that up and just every morning take a look at what the different rooms show me.
Well, I don't know if you, by the way, if you can see behind me, it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a deception, I guess, because not that far there are other places, other, like, I guess, towns or whatever there too. But right around it, you could see how that could lead to isolation, feeling of scared, because there are mountains and trees like all around it. So you feel that isolation. You feel alone. You feel like, that you're just you and the ghost. And
Yeah.
when Stephen King first went there, it was like exactly like in The Shining. He went at the end of the season where like all the other guests had pretty much gone. So he was like one of the only guests in the hotel. He said, like, even when they were eating, it was like most of the chairs in the dining room were already up on tables, except for him. I don't know if I could stay in a hotel like that big, just alone. I would go more if it was in season and everyone was around. There are like, hundreds of people all around, thousands maybe, but I couldn't go just be alone in a hotel that big. That would creep me the hell out, for one.
It's like a mall. It's like the
Yes,
size of a mall.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So if we went together, when you come when you come back down to Florida again for a visit, whatever it is, we should go to some haunted tour. We should so there's some ghost tour. But so if we go together, so you're saying that if I were with you, we would be attracting ghosts because of things that you feel.
Almost positive. That's why I mentioned this and I got off track. I would bring something like this with me there so that I could, even if I'm not standing there, it could take pictures and then we could later investigate what's actually in those hallways. We could go to a place and hang out and do things, but I think that you would get, I would bet a shiny nickel that you would get something because it never stops. Since I was like maybe 5, it has almost never, even in the military, even in boot camp, when I'm laying in the rack and there's 70 other dudes and we're all laying there. Now we had these things called fire watch, where there were 2 guys that would walk up and down the hallways. But then for a minute, they would go to the side and they would get the other guy ready and exchange the uniform or whatever. I would still hear. I still hear footsteps. And sometimes there would be somebody, I'd be asleep, I'd wake up, even in boot camp, I'd see someone standing there looking at, and it wasn't the drill instructor, it wasn't the fire watch, it was somebody. Sometimes I was on fire watch and I'd have to walk, and it's, because it's nighttime, it's a dark room. You're walking down the hallway and you don't see anybody awake until you pass the other fire watch and you walk, you turn and you come back. So before I would get to them, I'd see other things, on the other side of the bed or whatever, because it's a hallway. And then you got racks of beds. I'd see things moving around and I would ignore it because I had gotten to the point that I'm just not going to be able to avoid that stuff.
Right now, I don't know if I could go with you anymore. I don't know if I want to be with you. If I know that you're actively drawing them to us, I'm not so sure I want to go with you. But no.
If you and I went to that place, we would have a Ghostbusters adventure, I'm sure, because that would come out of the woodwork.
I don't what you call it. I do want to. I mean, I would definitely love to see it. I really would love to see it. Like I said, I do go to haunted places all the time. I go to I try to see these things. I'm interested in these things. That's why we're doing this type of podcast together, because we both love these things. I would go to the Stanley. I don't know, again, but there are so many ghosts there. It's like, you don't know which one you're drawing. I don't know if I would want to stay there. And people would probably say, yes, of course you want to go there too. I'm not one of those people that go like, I want to go into the haunted place to tempt the fate, like we discussed.
Yeah.
We will see. But anyway, so I want to know, if you do go to the Stanley, which you're only a couple of hours away, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you at this point? I got to see all that footage if you do take. I want to hear about it. I want to get a call while you're there, so like I can go with you on this like that.
Okay, yeah, that would be cool.
And maybe we'll load it up on a future episode. We'll load up some of the things that you take. We'll make an addendum to this episode there too.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, let us know what you guys think. Let us know, have you been to the Stanley Hotel? Have you ever experienced any of these things? Have you, would you stay there? And so anyway, again, this has been Nightmares Before Bed. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Troy Cannon, and thanks for watching. And please like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you for watching Nightmares Before Bed. And now, it's time to shut the lights, close your eyes, and go to sleep. If you can.